Hello everybody. Welcome to day 3 of the 30-day coloring challenge. I'm Kathy and my blog is TheDailyMarker, and I am going to color this adorable little guy from Stampin' Bella. Stampin' Bella makes the cutest, funnest little interactive things, and if you look at it's nice they have a colored picture because it kind of gives you a guide as how to color him. Well, I'm going to turn her into a her, but I wanted her foot to be like touching down, and I wanted like the balloon is carrying her away. So always my mantra for coloring is to start with a light color, put down that first layer, and usually for the cheeks I use RV10, but I can't see what color I'm using. Anyway, so I'm trying a darker color, and I'm just pushing some of that color around, and I'll blend that out with my E50. So anyways, I wasn't going to do another video, but I thought, heck, I have to color this. Let me see if I can get a video out kind of quick. So that's what I'm trying to do. You might notice the polka dot sleeves. They are my pajamas. It's everyone's sleeping, and I need to do my coloring for today, which I was very excited to do. So I thought, well, let me see if I can pull together this video. Anyway, but if you click on over to my blog, Stampin' Bella is giving a wonderful gift certificate away where you can go through all their stamps and pick what you like the most. It's very generous. So make sure you do that, and if for some reason I'm tired and I forget to put the link in, it's TheDailyMarker.com, www.TheDailyMarker.com. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit because I want to kind of focus on the ending and what I do, my details that I like to add at the end. You might notice that I like to mix beiges and creams and grays together. So I started with E50 and then I brought in, I think it was N1, to kind of make it a little warmer and a little bit more interest. I don't think too much about what colors I'm using. I like to experiment and grab. The great thing about Copics is you can just kind of put another color on top. There is no mistakes to be made. So let me touch back since everyone's sleeping. If I sound like I'm talking in hushed tones, I'm very excited to be here, but I'm just trying to keep it down a notch. Okay, so I'm using COO to kind of just blend out the gray and the beige that I use, and now I'm getting started on my shirt. I wanted to make her like a girl. So I picked some purples and greens, and then I'm going to create a lace around the edges of these overalls. So first, always just put down a color. Don't worry about if it's saturated or not, and then just bring in your darker color. The wonderful thing about Copics, if you try not to think about what you're doing, because the alcohol, the solution in them, if you work it enough, the colors will eventually blend together 80% of the time. Now I have my 0 here, and I want to kind of wash out some of that lighter color I put on, and I always like to go back and add a little bit of the dark in the corners. But I used the 0. I wanted to wash out some of that color, like, you know, she's a little mouse on the farm. She's kind of faded and washed these clothes a gazillion times. So I kind of wanted that faded, washed out look. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the overalls. Before I do that, I thought I need to color my balloon here. So I'm just adding some stripes, freehand stripes. Can't mess it up. Don't worry about it. If you mess up consistently, then you've got a great pattern going on. So keep that in mind. Now again, it's great to refer to the Stamping Bella package because it shows you where all the shading is, and the lines on the image kind of guide you that way too. So I'm just using that as a guide and bringing my darker colors in that area. And then I'm using my lightest color just to blend out that harsher line. I kind of consider myself as fearless with color. I'm definitely not the best out there, but I'm fearless and I like to mix different colors and I don't think about it too much. So keep that in mind. I want you guys to feel great about what you're doing. So I'm bringing back in that lighter color again. You know, you add some highlights and then you kind of fade them out and you add a little more if you want it a little richer. Now I'm back at the balloon and I'm going to be adding just random lines, thick, thin, whatever. And then I'm going to go back with a super fine tip marker and I'll draw a little plaid on there with that just to make it look a little more dramatic. And then I'll add some white highlights with the gel pen on that balloon. It's always interesting if you pull in another color, so just grab a pink and just fill in some of the little squares. And there's no right, there's no wrong. Now I'm like, hum-da-da-dum, what should I do? Now I'm taking my zero again. I decided to color those buttons a pink, so I wanted to remove some of the color I had. And before I do that, I always like to add an accent color. So I'm bringing in this very soft yellow just to add a little more interest in the faded green denim. Now I removed some of that color in the buttons and I'm using pink. And then in the very end, you'll notice I just ended up coloring them black and put a white, solid white button on top. Now I looked down for a minute, but you'll notice the white gel pen on my finger. I always like to warm up the tip of the gel pen on my finger. It works for me. I've heard it works for other people too. And I just drew a series of dots. You have to give it time for the white ink to pool. So I drew that series of dots around the top edge. And right now I was looking for my Sharpie. But this is that super fine tip. I think it's a 0.03. And I'm using that to draw the lines on the balloon, just any old lines. I actually did 2 lines together and then I skipped one and then 2 more and then I skipped one and so on and so forth. Now I'm also adding a little bit of eyeshadow to her. All girls must wear makeup on my images. And then I'm using that fine tip to draw some little itty bitty eyelashes on her eyes. She's such a little cutie. Okay, now I've picked up the Sharpie. This is a fine tip Sharpie. It's thicker than that 0.03. And I'm just drawing a loop or a C or a semicircle around the white dot. Now I added some various ink, that ink blending solution to the rag, and I just dabbed some on the balloon for a little texture. And on the belly, you can see where I did that too. So that's it. See the shadow on the foot where the foot's touching down? So go to my blog and enter for that giveaway. And thank you so much for watching.